All right, good morning, guys. So today we're going to chat a little bit more about some of the setup that I'm running on my plate carrier. Mainly going to focus on the placard, which is the HRT Maximus. We've talked about that briefly before. We're going to give it a little bit more in-depth review today now that I've had some more time on it. HRT also was kind enough to send out their dangler pouch, the Sporran, for a master breachers course that I was attending. It was a week-long explosive breaching course that I ran this for, and unfortunately they weren't letting us do any video or any photographs, so there's no footage of it in action, but I definitely was impressed with it. So we'll jump into it a little bit, talk about some of the key reasons I went with it, and some of its abilities and capabilities. So it marries up with my carrier right up underneath the cummerbund using elastic, and mounts right up underneath the placard as well. So one issue I was looking at with this right off the bat was its ability to drop it down a bit lower because of the short size in the Velcro attachment point here. I would like to see it be a little bit longer to give me that ability to drop it down some for ease of accessibility, due to the fact that when you're operating it, running it, it is tucked right up underneath the placard, making it a little bit hinky to kind of get into the pouches themselves. One thing that has been really nice about it is increases the ease of operation, is the paracord tabs that they attached on the zipper points. And we'll add some still photos to this thing a bit later, so it makes some of the stuff easier to see. I don't give a fuck about production quality. I want you guys to see the product, and I want you guys to hear about my thoughts on it, so when you're out buying something, you can learn from my mistakes and some of my successes. So this is not a Hollywood production by any means. But these tabs make it great for ease of operation when you're focused downrange and you just reach down and you can find those two tabs, and ease of access to get into this thing. So the front of it, we have elastic on the front with 3 rows for MOLLE attachment. And over on the side, we also have 2 rows for MOLLE attachment. There's a single hole in the bottom. If you just get any liquid in this thing, it's going to drain out. And this front pouch actually unzips all the way down to the base, giving you the ability to open it a bit further for ease of access. But it does have these nice wings sewn in on the side here, to where this pouch doesn't just fall open and dump all your shit on the ground as you're sitting there trying to access your kit. The options in here for storage are very impressive. There is endless areas to put things in this pouch, to where, for me, I want my stuff secured. I don't want it just free flowing inside of here. I want to be able to reach down and know where it's at every single time, and this gives you that option. So some of the options in the front pouch, you have just a large big opening in the back where I keep some extra gear that's a little bit bigger. Right up next to that, you have some Velcro slots, or some elastic slots, to where you can store something right in there inside that, and it's not going to move anywhere. Right in the center, we have a zipper compartment that you can stow gear in, same kind of concept, and it's going to stay separate from everything else and not be moving around. This is more or less a divider between the front and the back. So then we have another large area for storage of gear, and multiple little slots that are sewn right into the fabric for, once again, individualized storage, which I find amazing. And then 2 big spots back behind those little individualized compartments. So that's the front portion of it. It has a rear pouch as well. So the rear pouch does not zip all the way down to unzip all the way down to the base. It only zips right about to the top edge here. And that also, again, is so when you open it, you don't splay your stuff out and all over the ground. So this back pouch does not have as many small individualized compartments. It's got a bit more larger compartments there, giving you the ability to stow a larger piece of kit, a larger piece of gear up in that pouch here, which has for me been great. I have individualized items that I like to keep in the front portion, to where I store some larger items in the back. And it's kind of a first world problem I've run into with the Sporran and the Maximus, of where do I put my shit, because there's so many options here. So I'm continuously been moving things around from the placard itself down to the hanger, trying to find the best place for my items. And we kind of briefly touched on what the Maximus is about in the first video, but same kind of concept with the Maximus. You open it up and you have your individual compartments with the larger compartments for storage here. So I have to continue to play with this and monkey with it and find out where I want to put everything, but it's an amazing problem to have of deciding where things are going to go versus not having a spot to put your shit. Only thing I would say is this thing is certainly not built for a gunfighter setup. This is built for gear management. So this is not a streamlined, the fastest draw in the world. You know, your reload times are definitely going to decrease, which I have seen, but it's manageable. And for my mission set that I'm trying to achieve, the priority for me is going to be to have gear where I need it to be and easily accessible with additional real estate available to me should I need it. So big shout out to HRT. If you guys have not heard of HRT, check them out. HRT Tactical. I'll toss a link in the description for you guys to go take a look at. Their customer service is awesome. Someone answers the phone. Their product is of high quality, and you can get this stuff quick. You don't have to sit around waiting for months because everything's back order. They're able to get you that product fast and efficiently. So once again, I appreciate you guys sending me out this brand to take out and test for that course. It's something I'm going to continue to run with, and I'll put out an additional review of this down the line after I've gotten some field time with it. Something else I've had the opportunity to run for a while that I haven't really gotten a great review out on is the Ferro Concepts Bison Belt. So down at the course I attended, I had the opportunity to go down to Ferro's facility and talk with one of their lead developers, you know, for their products, and kind of pick his brain a little bit about why they do some of the stuff they do. And right up front, I think they're an amazing company. I think they produce an amazing product. Everything is made in America, and the craftsmanship is it's second to none. That being said, though, there was a few issues I did find with the Bison Belt. If you're paying the amount of money that I paid for this belt right out of the box, you're going to want this thing to function. You're not going to want to have to make any alterations or run into any ridiculous snags. So they use the thermoplastic throughout the belt to give you that ability for this thing to form fit to you. It's rigid, but not to the point to where this thing's not going to wrap around you and fit like a glove. Another issue I ran into that I was surprised by with a company like Ferro, their reputation precedes them. They produce quality product. The underbelt that came with the Bison belt was pathetic, for lack of a better term. It was a very small G-hook belt that had zero rigidity to it and was basically only useful if you were running this belt. And for me, I like some rigidity, so I threw it away the minute I got it. I ran it for maybe a half hour, just trying to feel it out and see if it was something that would work for me, and it certainly was not. So if you're going to go with the Bison belt, make sure you've shopped around, found yourself a decent underbelt, because the one they're going to send you is not going to cut it. So they run the Cobra clip, which I'm a huge fan of. This is something that is fairly universal on battle belts to this point. Super reliable. The issue then that I ran with was another issue I ran into was sizing. So the sizing gets a little hinky. Most do overlap as far as their sizing charts, but I fell between a medium and a large on the sizing chart. So I wanted to be able to make sure it fit me at least, right? So I went with a large. So when it arrived, I was trying to fit it and ended up having to pull every single bit of tension out of this thing to get it to actually fit my waist size. And the tail on it, the excess tail on it, ended up being like 1.5 feet long, to where it was just not easy to manage. So for the tail management, they have a little Velcro wrap here that you're basically supposed to roll that tail up, lay it down, Velcro over the top of it, and it was just not practical. My tail ended up being, that big, sticking out. So what did I do? Of course, I cut it off. Can't send it back after do that. Note to self. So I trimmed the tail off to make it a little bit more manageable for myself. What I also found was I was having an issue with this Cobra belt maintaining the tension to where I set it to. And like I said, I didn't have much room for error, so this thing needed to be tight. Throughout my workday, I would find this thing just slipping to where it was hanging off my hip eventually. And that's an issue for me, obviously. So what I did was I took that tail and I actually took it on the edge of the Bison belt, wrapped it over the edge, and I taped the shit out of it to make sure that retention was going to stay put. That seems to be working for me. That has kind of solved that issue. But once again, if you're paying the amount of money it costs for this belt, you shouldn't have to make alterations to it, in my opinion. So I gotta say I'm a little disappointed in that. Not a knock on Ferro, but something that I think they could probably work on there. Just something that I would say I'm not really super pleased with. So I'm not entirely sold on it just yet. It's what I am rocking. It's what I'm wearing now. That being said, I'm looking for some small interior options. And one thing I have been considering, since I've been having such great success with HRT's product, is the HRT arc belt. It's very similar in design to the Ferro Concepts Bison Belt. It comes standard with a G-hook clip and not the Cobra clip. I'm not sure why they're doing that. It accepts the Cobra clip, but I'm not a big fan of that. That's something I think should be standard when you're running a belt like this. The G-hook's just not a great setup for running a belt. Not as secure, in my opinion, and not as easy to operate. You want it, ease of operation when you're donning and doffing this thing. So that's something I'm a little concerned with. In talking with one of the sales reps there, it sounds like that's something they're basically just going to go to eventually, is the Cobra clip design versus the G hook. But they make that very obvious when you guys are looking at their website that that's what it comes with, and you can attach that Cobra belt or a Cobra clip to the belt itself. So that's kind of the direction I'm thinking of going at some point here. We'll see what happens. The belt is comfortable. The Bison belt, it is comfortable. I haven't had any crazy issues with this thing in the field, but you should pay for what you're getting there. I just don't feel like I should have to make alterations to a belt that's costing me a couple $100. So we'll see where we go with that. If you guys have any recommendations, there's a million belts on the market. I'd love to hear what you guys have tried, what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. So leave that down in the comments, please. And just remember, this is for the next guy who's going out to try and buy a piece of kit, and we want him to get it right. We want him to learn from our successes, from our failures, so that guys aren't out spending a couple $100 just to throw a belt in the gear case that we all have at home that's full of all of our failures that we're not going to wear again. So let's do our best to help each other out, help each other buy that quality product. So please throw that down in the comments if you guys have any advice for those of us out shopping and trying to find the best piece of gear. Appreciate you guys watching. Give me a like, give me a share. Any great comments, throw them down in the comments section. And don't forget, this is not Hollywood. This is not a Hollywood production video. Just trying to get some information out there for you guys and share what works for me. All right, thanks guys. Look forward to the next one coming out. We'll give it a couple months. We'll throw another one out about the Sporran and the HRT. Appreciate it, guys. Been great to work with. Have a good one.